All right, it says we're live. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to Just One More Fish. My name is Josh, and this thing is brighter than usual, I feel. Let's try that. All righty. I just want to make sure the audio and video is coming through okay. Wait and see if we get a response on that. I don't know if I need to turn this mic up or not. And let's see. We've got 5 people here, 5 likes. Fantastic. I appreciate that. 6 people here now. Let's see. Mr. Bees is here. Fish Room Fever. I do want to send a very special thank you to Carrie Nature, as well as the Zen Ginger. They've both agreed to be mods for the channel. And since I am really new to this, I have no idea what mods do, but I can sure use the help. So looks like they're going to take care of you guys and help you find links. And also keep the troublemakers out for me. So that's very, very much appreciated. Let's see. So we're going to let a few more people come in, and then we're going to talk about our subject today, which is fish rescue. There's a lot of different views on fish rescue. I've seen some pretty big name YouTubers talk about how they don't agree with fish rescue. We're going to talk about some of that stuff today. Hey, Bob, it's good to see you here, Bob Kaler. Bob's doing live shows now on Wednesdays, right, Bob? If you have a link to yours, I'm sure Zen or Carrie can throw a link to one of your shows up. He does a good show on Wednesday evenings. FNS Fish Room is here. Looks like the Little Egypt Aquarium Club is back in here. Hey, have you here. And again, it's Fish Family, so if there's someone in the room you see that you don't know or that you haven't looked up yet, look them up. They probably have really good content, and we try to support each other as much as possible. Kaler can't link. Well, it looks like somebody's going to get that taken care of for you there, Bob. We'll see if we can. You have way more viewers than I do, but maybe we can get 1 or 2 people out of here to go visit you. That'd be great. Bob's first live stream. There it is. The link is up. All righty. All right. So we're at 10 people. Let's go ahead and start with the subject today. And that is fish rescue. So what I was talking about was, and I'm not going to name any names on anybody, but there's a lot of fish channels out there. And some of you may have heard some of these conversations. There's fish channels that all they do is rescue. There's fish channels who don't agree with fish rescue. They view it as fish hoarding, that you're just collecting fish. There's a lot of different views on how fish rescue should go. So I figured I would share my view today. And please let me know in the comments what your views are. It's an open forum. I like to keep an open mind to this kind of stuff and see what you guys say, what everybody thinks. So my idea about fish rescue is there's several ways to do it. I do think that if you're going to get involved in fish rescue, you have to be able to provide the fish with a better home than it's coming from. So you have to be prepared for whatever comes, and you have to be willing to say no if that happens, that you can't take care of that fish properly. We just had somebody that came up on Facebook and was looking for a home for some goldfish, and they were the sweetest family. They came all the way to the fish room, checked the place out, and I had to make some big changes. The big change was that eventually I'm going to have 20-gallon tanks running down the middle of this room. But in order to help them out, I decided instead to put a pond behind me, which you can see part of right here. Get out of the way. And there are the goldfish right here. And they brought 5 of them, and they're doing really well. Got an inverted 60-gallon in there for them to play around in. So you have to make changes and be willing to adjust to help people out if that's what you're going to do. You can't just take the goldfish and throw it into a bad situation. Also had a situation, let's see, June, July. One of the big pet stores in Edwardsville called me and said that they had a pacu they didn't know what to do with. You know anything about fish, pacu probably should not be sold in this hobby unless you have like a permit for it. They get ridiculously big. This pond isn't enough. This is 160 gallons of water, not even close to enough for a pacu. So I got there to take a look at it, decide if I could help it or not. And I made the decision to go ahead and take it. I have a 150-gallon tank in my house, and it was doing well for a while in there. But immediately after I got home, I started making phone calls and sending messages. In fact, in August, I was able to get a hold of someone that works at the new aquarium in St. Louis, the one they built at Union Station, and they had some interest in taking the pacu. So I held on to it for as long as I could. That pacu finally got a little stressed out and beat up one of my parrot cichlids really bad. We were able to save it, but it was really bad. And I was frustrated. So I got a hold of the aquarium and they said, no, unfortunately, we can't take it. So this was after 4 or 5 months of trying to get this worked out. So I went straight back into trying to find this thing a home. We were able to get it into a pet shop in St. Louis that has about a 350 gallon aquarium with a big red tail catfish that made this pacu look small. It was kind of amazing to see. You take a 13, 14 inch pacu, put it with a 3-foot catfish, completely changes the dynamics of where that fish is used to being. So, when I took it, it was in a 20 gallon tank. Another situation, a buddy of mine, actually, he's in the room here, Don, Cora Jr., sent me a message. He's like, I know a lady that's got an 8-inch Plecostomus, and it's living in a really small, nasty green water tank. The water was green because she had like 500,000 guppies in there and didn't really pay much attention to them. So, I'll take it. I got the 150 gallon. He shows up with a foot long Plecostomus, and that thing is now 15 inches long, but it's doing well. It's living. It's doing a good job helping me out in that tank. Make sure you feed those separately because they do need other food sources other than algae. Alien World Aquatics. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you here. So something I wanted to talk about was, obviously you want to make sure that you have the room for the fish, or you are willing to give up the room for that fish. But then what's the end goal of that for the long term of that fish? If you just collect the fish, eventually you become overrun. So my goal has always been to find them new homes. And every now and then you run across one that you just can't do that for. And it's not necessarily because no one wants them, but you fall in love with them. I have 2 parrot cichlids I took out of a very small aquarium. They were in a 36 gallon bow front. They're now living in the 150. My wife won't let me get rid of those. I've actually been offered decent money for them. She will not allow it. Also have an axolotl. His name's D'Artagnan. I got a call from Petco. Usually the Petco in Edwardsville, they call me whenever they don't know what to do. It had no legs, no tail, all of the gill plates on the back, all of I'm not even sure what those are called, but they were gone. And they didn't know what to do with it. So I brought it back to the house. It's doing really, really well. It's got all of his legs back since they grow everything back. And I can't get rid of him. He sat on my desk for about 6 months and we got to be buddies. So he will stay with me forever. Other than that, usually if I do a rescue, it's to find it a new home. So with that said, I mentioned fishy foster care in the title. And there's a reason for that. The family that brought these goldfish by, they really love these fish. They've actually messaged me 3 days in a row now asking how they're doing. Usually when I do a rescue, I don't hear anything. Like, you have the fish, it's your problem now, good. But they actually really care about these fish, and they want to know what's going on with them. So the plan is that I'm just going to house these fish for a few months, take care of them for them. They're moving cross country, and when they get settled, if they can get a tank that's set up and get it all cycled and ready to go, I'm going to ship the fish out to them. Not charging anything extra for that. It's something that we need to do to help keep people in the hobby. We don't want to take advantage of people. Doing that, this hobby is already hard enough, for new people coming in. But if they find someone that's willing to help them and willing to do something like that, they're more likely to stay in the hobby, and it benefits all of us in the long run. They have 2 little kids. The fish were presents for their kids. You could tell that they were missing these fish already. So that's what we're working on is if somebody wants the fish, but they can't take care of them at that time, and I can make room for them, I'll take care of them for just a little while and then ship them on. Or in the case of it's an immediate move, you have to leave the location you're in. You don't know what to do with them. I can house them until you get everything set up elsewhere. Don't have a lot of space, so please don't everyone call me and say, hey, could you want to watch some of my fish? But there are situations where that comes in really handy. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that, see what anybody thinks. Let's see. We are about 10 minutes in, and I have rambled. So I'm going to go to the top of the chat here and see if there's anything that was left for me. Let's see. Again, thank you to the Zen Ginger and Carrie Nature. I really appreciate you guys jumping in and being mods. Also, my nephew, Bradley, he's been taking care of some of my audio video stuff. He keeps me up to date if everything goes bad all of a sudden. And I need to keep this chat up. That way, if something does go bad, they can let me know. Alien World is here. Let's see. So many fish outgrow the average family tank. That's true. And that's a really good point that you bring out there, Carrie. There's, when you see a pacu in a store, you're looking at something that's the size of a baby silver dollar. And honestly, a baby silver dollar will outgrow most tanks that you can get for your home. If you can put together a 55-gallon, you'll be okay. I actually, in the house, have 7 silver dollars that were also rescues. So if anybody in the local area is interested, I have a lot of silver dollars available, but they are big. I would suggest at least 75 gallons for them. But yeah, in the case of the pacu, the plecos, there's so many different fish out there that they look really cool when they're small, look like baby piranhas, or this little thing will eat your algae, or whatever the stores tell people to sell them. And unfortunately, you just can't keep them in a 10 or 20 gallon tank. You've eventually got to get into the hundreds, sometimes 200-300 gallons. I believe the minimum requirement for a pacu was an 800 gallon pond. And I actually considered building one of those when I got him. And then I decided it was not in the best interest of what I was trying to do, because to spend 800 gallons of water on one fish, that's a lot of real estate. And I can help out a lot of other families by not doing that. Let's see. Donnie says, unfortunately, you're right. It's really sad that pet stores will go ahead and sell fish and have potential to become quite large to people who don't have any idea what to expect. Yeah, and again, it's all about making money for the pet stores. But that's why you've got people like us in the Fish Fam. We're just trying to help out. If we can take some of the stress off somebody. When you have a fish that's that big and you honestly don't have a clue what to do, then you return it to the store that you bought it from, and they don't have a clue what to do. So they're calling someone else. That's a problem. And really, those fish shouldn't be sold without some kind of special documentation that, you've got a proper size tank to hold that fish. Carrie says she had a boyfriend like that, ended up with 100 gallon tanks, and not long after, one less boyfriend. Okay. I guess that's one way to get rid of a boyfriend. Black ghost knife. Yes, that is another interesting fish. I had one in a 55 gallon years ago, and actually I got rid of it because I was afraid it was going to hurt itself. It would literally knock itself out trying to eat. I'd sit in my chair to watch TV or something. The tank's right next to me, and I would hear a loud thump, and I'd look over the tank, and this thing was on its side, floating sideways and shaking its head funny. It was smacking its face off rocks to get to anything that came near it. They're very, very aggressive ambush predators. Kaler's Aquatics. I've noticed that both my local Petco and PetSmart have cards on each fish. Info like temp, adult size, temperament. People don't take the time to read the information. So I noticed that the ones around here tried to do that, and then they got really lazy. So a lot of the time you go to look at those cards now, and it just says what the fish is. It doesn't even have a picture. And that kind of frustrated me a little bit. They do have the cards. They don't always take the time to put them up, and that's kind of frustrating. Or you'll notice that the fish that they carry often, your neon tetras, guppies and mollies and gouramis, they all have the proper card. But then they'll bring in, some kind of a tiger catfish from South America that's going to get 4 foot long, and it'll just say tiger catfish. It doesn't say anything about the fish. And that gets a little frustrating to see. I've actually had a few times I've gone in there and asked them if they would send a fish back because it was just, unless it was a special order, it had no business being there. Let's see. Alrighty. Donnie says that it's definitely true. Keeping people in the hobby benefits all of us. Let's see. Paku, not the best thing to keep in the hobby. Mr. B. Yeah, Mr. B. I actually saw a show where they were catching Paku down in Florida that somebody had released, and they were getting 50, 60 pounds. I'm going to be honest. I love fish. They're not the best looking fish in the world. They get huge, and they need space. You know, I had mine in a 150 gallon. Really, it didn't like it very much. It was side to side all day long. You could tell it was stressed. It was just a matter of trying to find it a home. Where it came from was a Petco like 30-gallon sail tank, so that made things a little better for it. But yeah, they need a lot of space, unfortunately. Let's see. And if you have anything that you want to send directly to me to comment on, please go ahead and link it to me. You can put @ and then just, and it should pop up one more fish. That way I can see it. I know it's a new chat. I'm trying to get through any comments and see what people say. But it makes it kind of boring for you guys if I'm just trying to read comments the whole time. And it jumped. I've heard about the chat jump. I've never actually seen it do so. We have 12 people here. I appreciate everyone that came out. Let's see, get back to where we were. A lot of people saying hi. Bob Kaler's Aquatics is, on the other hand, local fish store has the name and price only, so I have to Google. Yeah, and I do that a lot myself if there's something I see. In fact, at the auction, the big Maasai auction that I just had a video about, I spent a lot of my day looking up fish just to see exactly what it was going to be. I will never claim to be the most knowledgeable person in this industry. I'm not going to sit here and throw out the Latin names for all the fish that, you know, that a lot of people know. I don't know those names. So it was kind of interesting to hear the guys that were auctioneers, and if they didn't understand what I don't think if they understood how to pronounce it, they would just speak really fast. So it was really hard to understand sometimes what they'd say. But it was interesting trying to learn about these new fish, and there was a lot of new fish that I'd never dealt with that were there. It was pretty interesting. Mr. B says this hobby is in the habit of regurgitating misinformation, makes it hard. That is true. That's very true, actually. There's a lot of things that haven't been really ever true in this hobby, but they were said in the 50s and 60s, and they are now fact. And a lot of people refuse to believe any different than that. In fact, I find it interesting when you look at a lot of these other channels, the differences in how people care for their fish is really intriguing to me. You've got some people who their tanks are spotless. They change the water 70% a day, and you can't find a speck of anything in that tank. But then you go over 2 channels to somebody else, and they are literally growing an inch of mulm in the bottom of their tank. And that's something that the fry can feed off of. There's a lot of information out there. But it does seem like, you know, that there's a lot of misinformation, unfortunately, and people who don't have the facts tend to try to spread those. One thing you'll find here is if I don't know, I'll just tell you I don't know. I won't try to make something up, or, you know, I'll even tell you this is my experience. I'm not going to give you a lot of book knowledge where I say, well, I read this in a book or I saw this on another site, because I don't trust any of that until I've actually done it. So it's a lot of experience is what I deal with. Let's see. FNS, yeah. I do that at auctions too. Google is awesome. It really can be. You can learn a lot about a fish in a few seconds. Unfortunately, you only have a minute or two to decide if you want to buy something. But the nice thing about the auctions is sometimes they have several bags of it. So you just put that in the back of the mind, something to keep in mind for later. Kaler agrees with Zen. Even the shelter, they get huge dogs and knock over toddlers. Can't fix stupid. I'm not sure what you're talking about with the dogs. I missed that comment, but you definitely cannot fix stupid. That is one of my favorite things that I've always said. Some people just don't want to learn. And it gets frustrating when people don't want to learn. It gets frustrating. Oh, Zen had said, I don't understand why people do all the research and look at breeds when buying a dog, but don't think about the fishies. Yeah, that's true. That does happen quite a bit. And that's something I talked about with this family that brought the goldfish in. There's so many people out there that view fish as like a throwaway pet. It's, I mean, they give them away at fairs still. Can you believe that? I've actually had people tell me that they just won one at a fair this past summer. I didn't think they were still doing that. I had heard about it, but I'd never actually seen it. And then I've had people that tell me, yeah, we got this stupid fish at a fair, and it lived in the bowl and outgrew the bowl. Now we had to buy a tank, and now it's a foot long. You really should not be able to just, win a fish at the fair. That still bothers me quite a bit. But yeah, there's a lot of research to be done. Dogs are really quite easy. I mean, you can do a lot of research on training, but other than that, you research their food, you feed them, you play with them, you pet them. They're there. You teach them how to use the yard instead of your carpet. Fish, there's a lot more to it. Anything you do inside of a fish tank completely changes the atmosphere for that fish. If you put a little bit too much food in, you're completely changing what they live in. You have to remember they basically live where they go to the bathroom. So in order to keep that clean, it's it's much different. They need to do the research on that. I think my son is trying to come in. I heard somebody just trying to open the door. That's why I lock it. Let's see. All right. We're looking like we're close to the bottom. We're only 20 minutes in, so we need some stuff to talk about. If anybody has any questions for me, any questions about the fish room, about fostering or anything like that, please let me know. Kaler's Aquatic said his knife fishes in the tank with several spawns of blue steel apistos. I love apistos. Mom is less than 1 inch. He's a foot or so. Wow, that's interesting. Just a look from the apisto sends the knife fish away. Bob, I didn't do research when I first got into this. So we're talking 17, 18 years ago. And I had a chance to get a 55-gallon tank really cheap. The local pet store was in a mall, which you don't see anymore. And I walked in there and they had a knife fish, and I was like, that's the coolest fish here. I got to have that. So I bought it. Turned out it ate everything in the tank. I did no research. So I go back to the pet store and I'm like, this thing ate everything in the tank. And they say, yeah, they'll do that. So they sell me some guppies or some minnows. And that got expensive really fast because this thing was like crazy hungry all the time. So I go back to the pet store and I say, listen, this fish is cool, but it just kind of hovers around the log down here. I want something that'll swim around, look kind of nice in the tank. And they say, you got to get African cichlids. They're the meanest fish in the world. Nothing's going to mess with an African cichlid. Great. I'll take 10 of them. I woke up the next day and had no African cichlids left. I was really bummed. This thing destroyed all my Africans. So it went back the next day and I ended up going with like angelfish or something, which I didn't know anything about. And honestly, that's something we could talk about. Whenever we got rid of that fish tank, my wife was like, no more, never again. This is awful. I didn't take very good care of the fish tank. I was gone a lot. So when I started talking about getting back into fish, she was very hesitant and straight out told me not in our house. So I worked out a deal where I could put one tank in my office at work. And you flash forward about 10 years, I had 28 tanks in my office at work. Eventually, I did win the wife over. Obviously, she let me do this out in the garage. And I have researched all of these fish and have a lot more understanding as to what I'm doing with them. Let's see here. Bradley, he's seen that they were giving away fish as prizes too. They could sell other stuff like the bowl. Yeah, I've seen that, unfortunately. And one thing that I wanted to do is eventually I'd like to move out of here. We're talking a while now. I just got this room built. It's not even full yet. But my plan would be in a couple of years, maybe to have a warehouse, 2,000 or 3,000 square feet with actual ponds in it and, a couple hundred tanks, and have the kids come in and actually take a course on how to care for the fish that they're interested in before they're able to get the fish. And then I would work out a deal, like a coupon, where if they get their equipment from me, that they get the fish for free or something like that to help get the kids into the hobby. But it's all surrounded around knowledge, having them come in and learn about the actual fish and what the requirements are. Let them ask any questions they want. Kids are full of questions when it comes to this. We were at an aquarium in Michigan last week, and that video should be out today or tomorrow. And I just walked around doing my videos and listening to all the questions the kids were asking, and it was so much fun to listen to the questions. Some of the questions were so simple, but then every now and then they'd hit you with a zinger, and you're like, "Whoa, that's a really good question!" And a 7-year-old just asked that. That's pretty impressive. A lot of questions about what do they eat. The stingray tanks, I heard a lot of kids asking if they, if they would sting them if they tried to pet them, and it was pretty cool to see. So I hope everybody gets a chance to look at that video. It should be out. I'm working on it as soon as we're finished up here, and hopefully I'll have it done fairly soon. Let's see. Kaler's Aquatic says, yeah, my ghost knife was nice. Didn't bother any of his tank mates, even good with rays. Yeah. Unfortunately, the ghost knife I had was not friendly at all. How big of a tank did you have, or do you have him in, Bob? I'm kind of curious about that. I had mine. My ghost knife, I got him at 3 inches, and he was at like 7 inches in no time. It felt like days. He just exploded in growth. But I only had them in a 55-gallon, and those are real narrow. They're only 12 inches wide. So I'm kind of curious what size tank you have them in. Let's see. Flea market guppies. I have fish on the brain. Bob Kaler says flea market puppies and kittens drive me crazy. And people get them unvetted, sick, and can't afford basic care. Then they bring them to the shelter. It sounds like somebody actually got in here. They might have found the keys. Yeah, we have that around here a lot too, Bob. We have a lot of bunnies and chickens. I guess those aren't really pets around here. They're considered food, but yeah, like a lot of the auctions and stuff, somebody will be sitting out with their kittens, and it's just a mess. FNS Fish Room says that he had a 90-gallon coffee table tank. FNS, I would love to see a picture of a 90-gallon coffee table tank. If you could email me one, because I built my own coffee table, and it was a 40-gallon breeder. I could not imagine having a 90-gallon sitting in front of my couch. If you have a picture of that and don't mind sending it to me, Josh at justonemorefish.shop, I would absolutely love to see that picture. I'm very curious what a 90-gallon would look like as a coffee table. Hey, just one more fish. You should have gotten convicts. They really know how to handle a knife. Yeah, Donnie. I don't think those are knives. Those are shanks. And I had the convicts. I had to move the convicts. Actually, I donated all my convicts because of how fast they breed. So here's a cool story for you. I'm going to take a quick drink here because I'm dying. So I met this lady. Her name's Yaya. And people call her Yaya because no one can pronounce her name, I guess. I don't know what her real name is. But she is buying up houses in a really bad part of the neighborhood over in East St. Louis and turning them into aquaponics locations, and actually trying to grow vegetables and teach the kids in the neighborhood how to grow their own food, and then have those kids deliver the food to the elderly in the neighborhood. Really awesome people, really cool program they're starting. And she was having some issue with the fish, the plants and everything she's great with. The fish, that was giving her a struggle. So I did a little helping her out with fish and getting her tank settled. I ended up selling her a tank. I have a couple I'm going to donate, but I gave her all the convicts, and that's because convicts are messy. And I've heard that rabbits breed like convicts. So one tank of convicts can make a lot of food and a lot of babies to put in other tanks. Carrie said that hers was 100-gallon. F&S Fish Room said that he has the coffee table in his channel, so I'm going to have to go check that out. And if one of the mods happens to know of a link to that, go ahead and post it, because I am very curious about a 90-gallon coffee table. That's insane. I have, like I said, I put the 40-gallon in. Carrie just put a link up to the one I built. It was a lot of fun to build, a lot of challenges to figure out. It looks really nice in front of the couch. I could not imagine a 90-gallon there, though. I don't know, though. Maybe if I did like something long, like a 125, I don't know. That just seems like that'd be a bit much. And then I'd have a place to put those big fish, right? Kaler's Aquatic says the knife's in a 29-gallon. He's moving up to a 180. That's quite a move up from a 29. Had it set up for a couple months. Delay was something wanted to treat and be sure he's still healthy. Well, that's good. Yes, the 29 is way too small. But I mean, if you're using the 29 as a hospital tank for a knife, it's probably about as small as you can go for it. And it's going to save you a lot on your medication, right? Trying to treat a 180-gallon tank gets really expensive really fast. It's almost crazy how expensive that can get. All righty. Well, it looks like we peaked out at 11 people here today. Donnie says, a living thing should not be an impulse purchase. That is all there is to it. There should be a cooling down before you're allowed to buy anything for a pet. Yeah, and there's a lot of places that actually do that now. In fact, you can't go to the local Petco and PetSmart around here and just pick up a cat or dog. You have to fill out the paperwork, and it's like a 3 to 4 day process that they want to check everything out. Now, I'm not saying that we have to get that crazy for fish where they need to like see what conditions all of your fish live in. So when you fill this out, it's literally, do you have a vet for your pets? Are your pets current on their shots? What's the phone number for the vet? We're going to call the vet and make sure your pets are current on their shots. Obviously, we can't go there with fish. But I think there should be a little bit more work put in by the stores to make sure people understand what they're getting into. You know, even not just tank size or dietary, but habits. You know, Corridoras, or it's like a catfish, and people love to put 1 or 2 catfish in a tank, but they need to leave them like groups of 6. A lot of people don't realize that. You know, same thing with a lot of your tetras. They like to shoal and stick together. They don't really school. They just kind of hang out in groups. And a lot of people don't realize that. So you get tanks that'll have 1 or 2 long fin tetras, but they really like to be in larger groups. Let's see. Looks like I got a message coming through here. All righty. Just one more fish. That's a vid of the setup cycling glass top not on. Have to update things. Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that. So I should send you a video, or do a video on the top I put on my 40-gallon, because if you build a tank that you need to be able to get into, but you want a lid on top of that that you can put drinks and stuff on, it's a coffee table, right? You're going to want to put things on it. You don't really want to have somebody come in and flop their feet up on a lid of your fish tank. It's probably not going to hold up to it, right? So I actually put in a sliding lid that is underneath. Makes it real easy to go in, pull it to the side, feed everything, push it back. And I have a gap that's about 3 inches that allows me to do that underneath the top glass. I might need to make a video on that and post it up. Let's see. Bradley's reminding me to use smaller motions because I pixelate when I move too much. I need to figure out my settings because it's I don't talk in slow, like still motion. I like to move around a lot. Let's see. I don't see anything else that's specifically for me. Looks like there's more conversation going on about the knife. Fish Room Fever says people tend to forget about the flip side. If you're buying 6 Corridoras and that only leaves 1 in the store, buy the last fish. I agree with that as well. And the same thing just happened to me. I just put pea puffers in that tank right there. And when I was there, I was looking to buy 4 to 5 pea puffers. They like to have small groups. They had 6, so I just bought them all. I didn't want to leave the one by itself. Yeah, you don't want to do that to the fish. You know that they're already in a stressful situation. Let's see. Yeah, I think. Hey, FNS, if you could send a copy of that link to either Carrie or Zinginger, they could post the link up for you. And I don't think it came through if you tried to post it, because only the mods can do that right now. So maybe that'll work, and they can get that up there. If we can get people to go look at it, that'd be great. Anyways, get some more people to go take a look at your channel. All righty, so we're about 36 minutes. Really happy to have as many likes as you guys gave me. Out of 12 people here, only one missing, and that one person just showed up. Literally, I just looked up. It was 11 likes, 11 people, and now it's 12. So thank you for the support, you guys. I know some of you have been here every week, and I appreciate it. I do want to find out if this is a good time or if I should start moving it later in the day. I do have Mondays open. I don't know what other fish shows are on schedule for Monday evenings. But would it work better for anyone if I did a show, say at 4 or 5? Oh, my wife is the one that just showed up. Now there's 13. So you're not the only one that just showed up, but thank you for coming, dear. The show's almost over and now she's here. All righty. And someone left. So I think we're pretty much end here. This is the Stingray tank. Okay. So Carrie did get that link put up. If anybody wants to catch that, go see FNS's channel. He's got a coffee table that I'm going to go check out right after this. Just so you know, Tamar, this fella in the room, FNS Fish Room, has a 90-gallon coffee table that he built. Mine's only 40, so we may have to get an upgrade if you're okay with that. I don't know if I can allow that. I'm thinking maybe a 125. It's going to go pretty much halfway across the living room. Yeah, she'll be okay with that, I'm sure. Mod post the schedule. Let's see. All righty. Well, we almost made it 40 minutes. Hopefully we get a few more people in here. I'm thinking if we can get, 20, 30 people in here, we'll get more conversation going, and I'll be able to stick around a little longer, maybe answer more questions. But I don't want to have a show that we're struggling to keep running. All right, FNS says he'll do an update soon. I look forward to it. I'm going to go and check out your channel and subscribe to it, see what kind of things I can learn from you, FNS. I'm sure there's plenty. Zen Ginger's phone died and she's catching up. That's okay, Zen. You're the one that said you wanted to work in a team, so now it's a good thing we've got 2 mods, right? Oh, Science Gal's here. Awesome. So Science Gal, I just met her at the swap in St. Louis. I'd never noted. I didn't know about her channel at all, and she was one short of 2,000. And so I handed her my phone. I was like, "Make it happen." So it's great to see you here. I'm glad you made it. And it looks like Fish Room Fever has a schedule, so there's a link to that if anybody wants to find out when any of the other shows are on. All righty, so I'm going to go ahead and close this down. We're almost at 40 minutes, and we'll be back next week with a new subject. If you have any questions next week about this subject, don't be afraid to ask. I'm happy to chat about stuff from this week, and we'll just keep it moving. See, oh, Gnarly just got here too. Just got off a conference call. Bummer. The numbers are all going up right at the end. That's all right. I love it. Actually, Zen, that would be awesome. If I could go on the schedule for 1:30 every Monday until we decide if that's when we're going to keep it, that would be really, really nice. Bob still needs hours. Okay, so there's only 12 people in the room, but what she means by Bob needs hours is YouTube runs off of an algorithm where you have to have a certain amount of subscriptions and a certain amount of view hours in the course of the month or the year. I'm not sure what the time frame is. And Bob is getting close. I think last I heard he was over halfway there to his view hours. So we've got 12 people in the room. And if half of us were to go to Bob's list tonight when we go to bed and hit play and then put our phones over on the side, he would pick up like 7 to 8 hours from each of us. That would be really big for his channel. So if you get a chance, check out Bob Kaler's channel. She's got a link there. Feel free to watch the videos. Bob's got good videos. I'm not saying just turn them on and leave them to go. But if you can't help him, definitely help him out. And the same for anyone in the group, anyone in the fish family. So, all righty. Fish Room Fever is not even live because he took a call. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for coming out. 12 today. That's pretty good for a third show, I think. I'm not going to complain about that one bit. So everybody have a great week. Be productive, and we will catch you next week, Monday at 1:30 with a new show. Thank you.